Give me the next 19 minutes and I'm going to show you how I transform this guy right here into somebody completely new. My name is Andre Morales and I've been cutting hair for the past 10 years. And 6 of those years I've been creating content online helping barbers to elevate their skill set. And today, nothing less. We're going to start off by chopping down the top with a 3-guard and I'm going with the grain of the hair. Now you want to be sure when chopping down a lot of hair that you comb through it and figure out the way that it wants to lay. So I started in his crown area by separating it, figuring out which way it grows and cutting with the grain. And the reason we're going with the grain is because he wants to get waves and we want to keep the density or the dark look up top, because as you can see his hair can look pretty see-through, pretty light, right? So keeping it dark is going to help it look more dense. But we're gonna get right into the taper after chopping everything down to the 3, and we're gonna create more of like a round bald line with our Babyliss trimmer. Now we're gonna follow it up and get it slightly closer to the skin. Now in all honesty, after looking back at the clips of this haircut, what I would have done differently is wash his hair before I began any sort of blend, right? Because since it was so grown out, it was scrambled, it was sticking straight up. So I would have washed it, got it all laid down, and then came and did the blend. But you're going to see I do the taper and then I wash it. But what I had to do is detail it all over again, right? So that would have just been more efficient and saved me more time. So if you guys are doing a big chop, I always suggest washing it and then beginning the actual haircut. But what I did is I created the bald line and then I did lever open, going up about a 1/4 inch above that bald line. And I'm doing the same thing reverse into the beard, right? I like to call beard blends basically reverse tapers. Now following up that, we're gonna come in with our 1-guard lever all the way open, and we're gonna go up about a finger's width, a 1/4 inch above that previous open guideline, and we want to give ourselves enough room to get this blend nice and gradual. So I'm still maintaining kind of that round shape with the taper, and the reason I like to do that is it keeps the edges or where the lineup is going to be darker, and it allows the blend to pop and frame everything out a lot nicer. Now I'm coming in no guard with the corner of the blade to detail any dark spots. And we're going to do the same thing going into the beard, 1-guard closed instead of open first, and now I'm doing open. And you'll notice it's a lot easier to blend into the beard because of the texture of hair that beards tend to be, so it's a lot more forgiving. Now I drop down to my 1/2 guard to lighten up that line that I see. And then we took the guard off because it didn't get rid of that line fully, so I'm coming in halfway and then I'm closing it little by little until it's completely blended. You're going to see me do a lot of corner work when blending into the beard. That's just going to ensure that I don't take off too much from the side, because he doesn't want a deep beard blend, right? He wants to keep it high. And now we're going to follow it up with the 2-guard lever all the way open. And this will be the biggest guard that we use, so I'm coming in and scooping out at the top of this taper so I don't create a super harsh guideline. But this is where I'm going to emphasize why I should have washed it first. As you can see how it's just not laying right at the top of the taper, and washing it would have just laid that down and I couldn't make sure it was blended, the first time. But now I'm just detailing the beard, and I pretty much got through my steps. So what I like to do is get through my fading or taper system first and then line everything up and detail it at the end. But I'm just doing some corner work on the beard like I mentioned before. And now we're going to go to the other side. So we're going to follow the same exact process and the same exact system. We're going to start with our bald line where the ear kind of connects to the head and where the eyebrow ends, and you want to give it a slight round shape. Now shout out to this client right here. He drove all the way from Michigan, and mind you, I'm in Ohio, so it's about a 2.5-3 hour drive where he's coming from, and he's made that trip twice. So shout out to my guy for, giving me business and pulling up. So I had to record it this time. The first time he came was a lot more hair. I wish I would have recorded that one, but this is a big chop as well. But as you can see, I created the bald line, then I went lever open, And to get rid of the line in between, I just came in closed and opened it up little by little. Now we're going to follow that up with the one guard open, and we're going to work our fading system all the way up. And we're going to be getting that reverse taper that I was talking about into the beard. So I did lever open, and I'm getting rid of the line in between closed to open. And we're just working that system, working that process. That's why it's important to have a haircutting system or process that you can follow, because it allows you to apply that to every haircut so you can remain consistent. But if you're enjoying this video so far, but you feel like you want to go a little more in depth, I do have an online training program called Clipperhands Academy, where I go more in depth into my haircutting framework and my system. So if you want to go ahead and check that out, tap the link in the description, and I hope to see you in the community. Now we're going to grab our 2 guard with the lever open, and we're going to come in and scoop out. Remember, this is the biggest guard we are going to use. And you'll notice I don't waste too much time on the initial pass through of my fading system, because what I tend to do is emphasize it way too much and then spend too much time there. So I just get through it and then move on, and then we'll attack any details towards the end of the haircut, right? But I want to do the hefty part, the majority of hair part first, where we establish that bald line a little below the bottom of the ear, and then we're going to shave that down. And when you get towards sensitive areas like the back or the bottom of the neck, you want to be very light-handed, right? You want the clipper to do the work. So don't be super forceful. Let the trimmer, let the shaver just guide, because as you can see, this client's neck turns red easily. So I'm being sure to be as light-handed as possible. Now we're going to follow that up with the lever all the way open, and we're going to be going up a finger's width above that initial bald line. Okay, that is equivalent to about 1/4 inch. So if you create 1/4 inch guidelines blending up to the length that you want, you should be able to achieve a nice gradual blend. And then we're going to do the same exact thing with the 1 guard open, and we're just working our system all the way up, and then we'll blend down. But I do have some exciting news, especially for the people who've been following me for a while. I'm dropping my very own podcast. It is going to be called the Cut Different Podcast, and I'm super excited for it because I'm going to be able to show a different part of myself, as well as showcase other people's expertise, right? Their success stories, how they got to where they were, and give us practical steps to apply to our barber journey. Because you guys always hear me say, it's so much more than the quality of your haircut, right? There's mindsets, there's tactics, there's strategies to grow your barber business and get you to a good lifestyle. And my goal with this podcast is to give you guys that raw, uncut, because there's so much more than haircutting. So this will be a video and audio podcast. I do have a YouTube channel for this podcast. It'll be attached in the links of the description of this video. So be sure to go hit that subscribe button. You'll be the first to know when that first episode drops. So again, link in the description, the Cut Different Podcast. Let's go. And now we're going to drop down to our half guard, and I'm coming in closed. And then I'll work my way open as I move up in this taper. But as you can see, we're almost through our steps. And to begin getting rid of that last line, I'm going to come in closed and open up that lever little by little as we move up in this taper. But you can already see how easily it blended out, and that pretty much gets us through our steps. But I'm going to do some corner work and detail dark spots before we move on. Corner work will definitely separate, your blends from everyone else. So be sure to look for those minor dark spots and details that might, distract from how blurry your taper could really be. But now I went back to my half guard, and I'm coming in closed, detailing slightly more. And now we're going to begin framing out the neck and nape lineup. I always like to start at the top of the ear. That just helps prevent me from taking it up super high above, more than it needs to be, right? And then I'll work my way down towards the bottom of the neck, because you never want to push this in to the point where it grows back and looks weird, right? You want to keep it as natural as possible while at the same time getting it as sharp and as crisp as possible as well. And the longer I get into this video, the more irritated I am to how scrambled his hair looks. You're gonna see after we wash it, which I believe is after this lineup, how differently it lays and how much better it looks. That is my one suggestion for anybody watching this video. Be sure to wash it before you get into the blend. But nonetheless, we're gonna comb the hairs back down just to ensure that we do not have overhang on the lineup. Then we're going to work our way over to the other side and do the same exact thing, starting at the top of the ear and then working our way down to the bottom of the nape. Don't be scared to push the ear down. I know when I first started cutting hair, I thought this hurt the client, especially when clients have like an ear that kind of fights back and is stiff. But go ahead, bend the ear down, because at the end of the day, you know, if something's in your way and it's going to affect the quality of your haircut, you gotta move it, you know what I'm saying? So don't be scared to do that. But as you can see, when you frame out the taper, it really makes it pop and stand out. And as well, it'll bring out any areas that you might need to go back and touch up. And another announcement, I will also be in Jacksonville, Florida on July 19th, which is a couple weeks away, at the Jax Elite Barber Expo. I will be going over my haircutting framework called the Build and Blend Framework. So if you ever wanted to see me teach in person, I would love to see you there. Again, this is July 19th in Jacksonville, Florida. It's called the Jax Elite Expo. This is something I've been doing a lot more this year, especially since I've signed with Tomb 45, is going and doing more in-person classes. I really enjoy it. So again, if you guys want to stay tuned and up to date with all the places I travel to and teach, go ahead and follow me on Instagram as well. I'm gonna stay up to date. But now you're gonna see I had to wash it before we get into the lineup, because I really wanted to ensure that it's nice and laid down, so that way when he goes home, there's no overhangs, right? So I came in, shampooed it, gave it a nice, scrub, and then after we go ahead and wash everything out, we're gonna sit them up and lay everything down. Now, I don't shampoo every client just because of the time that it kind of takes, and I can really put that towards the quality of the haircut. But I will say clients enjoy getting their hair washed. So if you want to go ahead and like separate your service from other barbers, that's a great way to do it. But I went ahead and brushed and combed everything down, and now we're gonna blow dry it and get it nice and laid down. And you can already see how much better it lays. But it also brought out the dark spot at the top of this taper, which I do go back in detail. But before that, we're going to do a 3-guard with the grain. He wanted to keep the density or the darkness on the beard, but get it closer to the face. Because as you can see, if you take his beard too short, it will become very see-through. So going with the grain kind of helps keep those hairs longer and darker, while at the same time getting it close to the face. And I like to go over the beard a few times just to make sure that we got all the little hairs, so when he goes and picks it out or combs it out, it's nice and even. But now we're going to do a 1-guard open with the grain on the mustache. This is a little longer than I usually like to keep people's mustaches, but he wanted to be fuller and darker, so we just opened up that 1-guard and went with the grain. Usually I go against the grain. And now we're going to get into the lineup, but you can see I detailed the top of the taper with a 4-guard to blend out that weight line, and it looks way better. Now we're going to frame everything out, and it's really going to elevate and make this haircut take off. So I like to start off the lineup by lining up the vertical bars first, and then I'll go to the middle and work towards his left corner. Now the goal with this is to get it sharp and crisp, yes, but you want to keep it as natural as possible. And for those of you who are going to say this is a pushback, he had lots of overhang because he hasn't been lined up in a long time. So you never want to push it back more than you need to. But realistically, every lineup is a pushback. But there's an appropriate way to do it, and there's a wrong way to do it, right? So we want to keep it as low as possible on the forehead while getting it dark, sharp, and crisp. And now for lining up his C cups, we're going to start at the top and then go to the bottom and connect those 2 points in the middle. The reason I like to have a reference point at the top of the C cup and at the bottom of the C cup is it helps me to get that nice round shape without taking off more hair than needed. And now we're going to move over towards his right side, starting in the middle, going towards his right corner, which is slightly lighter. So we want to be careful there and just ghost it as if it was completely full. But all in all, my guy has a gray hairline. But we just want to go ahead and strengthen it up, make it look sharp. And yes, my trimmers are 0 gapped. And then for the C cup, like I said, we'll go to the top. Then we'll go to the bottom and connect those 2 points in the middle. This is a fail-proof way to get that nice C-cup shape that a lot of people like. And we are going to keep this haircut natural. He didn't want to use any enhancements, which I think is fine. It's sharp and it's clean without it. It just would have made it like that super Instagram quality. So for the enhancement haters, you're welcome. Now we're going to go ahead and frame out his mustache. And the goal when lining up a mustache is just to get it off of the lip. And then what makes a mustache different is whether or not someone wants to keep it wide or skinny, which dictates how much hair you're going to take off the top of the mustache, right? But for the most part, everyone's bottom of the mustache, you just need to get it off of the lip. And for the beard, we are going to start at the top of the beard and then work our way down, getting that nice round shape. But the first time is never going to be perfect, so we want to get the initial rough draft shape. Then we're going to brush away any excess, dead skin or hair, and then we'll reline it again to get it truly sharp and crisp. And one thing I like to do is have my client blow a bubble. This is just going to help make sure that I don't irritate the skin trying to get a sharp line and push the beard down more than needed as well. And what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So we're going to come to the right side and do the same exact thing. Now let's get into the cherry on top, a lot of people's favorite part of the haircut, which is the razor work. This is just going to strengthen everything, get rid of any stubble that the trimmer might have not gotten, and get it sharp. So you want to stretch the skin in the opposite direction of which you're using the razor, and that's going to help prevent cutting or irritation. And now we're going to frame out the beard, starting at the bottom and in the back of the beard. Again, with beards, the sides or the back of the beard, you never want to push those in, no matter if they want their beard long, short, higher up on the jawline. That never changes. What changes is where you place the line on the bottom of the neck. And in this scenario, he didn't want it too low, he didn't want it along the jawline. He wanted it right at the Adam's apple, going straight across, and that's what we did. So we're going to do the same thing on this other side, framing out the back of the beard, again keeping it as wide as we can. And then we're going to go from the Adam's apple straight across. Now, I don't know if you remember, he came in looking like he was ready to go to the disco, but he left looking like he was ready to sip wine on a rooftop. Nice, clean, simple transformation. If this video helped you in any way, shape, or form, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and drop a comment down below. Let me know what you thought about this haircut, but like always, I will catch y'all next time. Peace.